Dyer's Daily. So at the back end of last year, I started doing a little bit of a reorganization of my gaming collection, namely scaling it down by quite a lot because I needed to make space, and also organizing it so that I knew where everything was and making sure that some of the older consoles worked. Now, as far as I know, I've never had any issue with the Super Nintendo that I own. That one mostly seems to function without me having to clean it too much. But the NES, over the last few years, I've had some issues with it where it wouldn't take a cartridge. Like, you put a cartridge in and you turn it on and nothing, you'd get that grey screen of death, or it just wouldn't function. And I just thought, well, it obviously either needs a good dusting inside, or the connector that connects between the cartridge and the machine needs a good going over. Namely, so people say boil it in some water, and it kind of gets rid of the grime that has festered on there after so long, and it also stretches it out into its original shape as well. And I was about to do this, right? Because I thought, if I can't get it working, it kind of has to go, and so does everything else, because I'm not just going to have a turkey sitting there as kind of a memory. And so I was about to do this, and we couldn't get a screw or something. Like, we didn't have a screwdriver that was thin enough and long enough to be able to get this thing open, the NES. So what we did was just left it. And I don't know what made me do it. I just thought, shall I try it one more time? And of course, I put the cartridge in. I pushed it down with stupid mechanism. You switch it on, grey screen of death. You're like, yep, doesn't work, right? And then I realize, I think to myself, every time I've tried this, have I always tried it with the same cartridge? So I took the cartridge out. It was DuckTales, by the way. Took it out, put it to one side, went and got another one, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, put it in, slot it down, nothing. Then I think, but Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers didn't really work in the clone console that I had. It used to malfunction a little bit. So took it out, put another one in, put it down, and it worked. And I thought, it was the cartridges the whole time. The cartridges. Every time I tested it, I kept putting one in that didn't work in some way. And so that was the issue this whole time. And I could have saved myself thinking, I need to open it up and boil it. I'm still going to do that at some point. But the fact that I can now use it, and it turned out we opened up the cartridges that didn't work, we cleaned them, and then we put them in the machine, and they work like new. Fancy that. It was the cartridges the whole time, not the machine. Good grief. Good grief. But the things I like that about the old consoles, that you could kind of open them up. Now they're like computers that connect to the internet, and there's all this complicated stuff. In the old days, you open it up and you're almost underwhelmed with how little there is in there. It's half air and half circuit board with like two things on it. Or 8 things, as the case may be. It is 8-bit after all. Has anyone else experienced this, by the way, or is it just me in 2022, 23, trying to do stuff with retro consoles? I'm sure it isn't, because someone tried to sell me a new one the other day, one that was boxed after they found out my old one didn't work or something. It's like, no, I'm going to get my old one working. I'm not spending £100 on a nearly 40-year-old machine when I've got one in the cupboard that could work with just a bit of a grime and clean and stuff. So yeah, that is how I managed to get through that.
Dyer's Daily.